Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former World Champion Zerg in the blue, the Italian Stallion. It's Reynor. Facing off against the youngest professional player in Korea, the Terran in the red, we have Percival. And a best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg showdown, part of Wardi's Korean Royale tournament. Before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. Tell me kind of the algorithm, and Jimmy, what are we at? 1,757 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than the first drones and lings as the Reaper comes in, pokes and prods. But Reynor, very importantly, was able to sneak out a drone and get that 12 o'clock base. No SCV scout to block, no attempt at a delay. So we'll see if he regrets that decision or ends up benefiting for it. Queen comes out, thinking about a creep tumor. The Reaper thinking about denying it. Another queen pops the tumor. Zerglings out in front, bounces the queen to the side. The Brenda bounce is good, but the Zerglings are better. Able to zone it out for now. And that first creep tumor, the most important, I guess, kind of terminology accurate. But the Reaper for now, taking a few knitting needles directly to the face / power armor. And will heal even more quickly than the Zerg over time with the power of drugs. Combat drugs, to be specific. Jimmy, edit that out. Third command center's on the way back at home for Percival. And he's kind of broken onto the scene. And I mean, now StarCraft 2 has been out for 2/3 of these players' lives. Both of them 23 years old. Anyways, how's the back pain? But Percival is all about builds. Okay, I don't think he has the best micro or macro. Reynor, on the other hand, is the macro fiend, almost to a fault. It's about quantity having a quality all its own. And if he's forced to build infestors or vipers, it is a dark day. Somewhat puns intended. Come back to us, Star. But we'll see what Percival has cooked up, because clearly Reynor, the heavy favorite here. But Percival has upset many players before, and that's why he found his way here. Cloak Banshee's on the way. Third command center opening up the orbital. The creep has been barely slowed down at all, if any. I don't think a single creep tumor. A single Zergling. The only casualty so far. Oh. Found it. Queens on either side. Politely yet firmly asking the Hellions and Reaper to take another direction. The lair is already on the way, quite early on. Not so fast, but notable, which is why I noted it. But already that creep spread coming across, and the Baneling nest right next to the lair. Banshee just gonna fly right by. Creep tumor gonna be sniped off. The drone starts a base. The Banshee gonna start working on it. The queens, well, will amble. Stoically march their way off of creep, and Cloak is not quite done yet, so we're gonna try to zone out the Banshee until it is. Now, with 3 queens going this direction, be replaced by the B team, or at least the alternate shift, and defend the Hellions for now. Percival takes the 3rd base on the outside, double engineering bay at the front as part of the wall, barracks 4 and 5 in production. So we're going immediately and directly to a full-on macro game. The Cloak Banshees get by, but the Overseer's already there, though Reynor not quite reacting in time to take any of them out. The Hellions working around the left side, but the Zerglings have pre-spread. And he's actually going to try to get the wraparound. Good reaction time on Percival. Slips off the creep. The Zerglings still not letting him get away with it easily. And he may be able to split his way by and rip the Hellions apart before they can become more of a threat. But wait! Nice little juke back past the minerals and incinerates the rest of the lings. Meanwhile, the Banshees shoot away by the queens, but wait. This is restricted lair space! I don't... You got him, Brenda. I know. You too. Good team effort. I'm trying a new thing where I compliment you, Susan. You shouldn't have said that. Good observation, Susan. Well, the creep spread will metastasize even more quickly now, with both Banshees and all the Hellions taken down. Any ability to really put pressure on the map is reduced to these first two medevacs out of Percival. They're not going to have any upgrades but stim, and a whole lot of anger towards the Zerg, but what does Reynor have? 70 drones, going on 80. He's building 3 hatcheries, including one down the center. I think Lambo has been talking in his ear for a while now. The Zerg rocks themselves. A good trial run for the first Marines. And stimming their way down to the top right corner, which makes sense. Just, you have to, in context. Meanwhile, the Baneling's great target. Fire picks up, gets out. And Percival, his production, he's going to the Octo-Rex. 63 SCVs, no more in the production tab. Effectively a 3-base all-in build. You have to get enough damage to either kill or slow down the Zerg dramatically in order to justify this level of production. But with 12 Marines at a time, a couple medevacs, and a siege tank, that is a lot of Terran coming across the map. A comparable amount of biomass to the Zerg themselves. So, a bunch of dudes with drugs and guns up against the sheer amount of Zerg Reynor's able to put together, with 6 going on 7 hatcheries. But he is on lair tech, and he is down a couple upgrades. Percival has a 30-second advantage overall. That Artosalope back there freaking out and casting a weird shadow, but the Lings and Banes, he's waiting for 1-1. He desperately needs it. The Hive hasn't started. Reynor's focusing everything on crushing this push, but we see for now that the tank line runs incredibly deep. He even has a couple Hellbats left over from earlier. Here comes Reynor. Lings and Banes to the south, everything to the north, but he's already cleared up the creep. And the southern flank might be able to be taken out. Some of the Marines able to split away. But look at that spread. I can't believe it's not butter. The Marines coming forward. Reynor losing not a critical mass, but a significant amount of Lings and Banes. 110 Zerglings to just 27 Marines so far. The Queen's gonna try to hold the line. Transfuse is holding it together for now. Takes down one of the medevacs. Hatchery taking a lot of fire as well. Another flank comes through. Good target fire on the Banes. Turns it around. One more Baneling remains, and the Marines stand their ground and will continue stimming forward. That siege tank has 23 kills and counting. The Lings and Banes targeted down. The hatchery itself is next on the agenda. And behind this, Reynor never started his hive. He has the money. He just hasn't had the time. He might have 700 APM, but the attention per minute is what's lacking right now. And Percival is putting so much pressure on, and it seems like Reynor might be cracking under it. But the Lings and Banes coming through, the Hydras, the Queens. The siege tank is finally taken out with dozens of kills to its name. The amount of energy on the Queens dwindling rapidly. Not too many Zerglings out in front. 2-2 upgrades. Percival keeps the pressure on. The parade across the map. The Lings unable to cut off the reinforcements because they don't exist themselves. And the hatchery taking even more fire. The Hydra's gathering will be gunned down in turn. I don't believe he has Hydra speed. He does not, nor Hydra rage. The hatchery will... It's so close, but another siege tank. And here come the Hydras again. He just abandons the base. He has more to work with. Reynor still creep spreading to the other side. But Percival maintains the supply. 140 to 140. But again, that hive has not begun. And without it, Percival's already started on his 3-3 upgrades. He's started a 4th command center. He's added a few more SCVs. Percival cracked that base under the pressure. And he kept enough of his army alive to be a threat down the center. And siege tanks can assault the base from the low ground, and you have to come all the way around. Reynor even got supply blocked and had to rebuild overlords, which allows Percival to actually stay slightly ahead in supply overall. The pressure, like I said, the builds, the timing, and the execution, which sounds like a whole lot of things, but it's a very specific skill set. Reminds me of early days Cure. And today, Cure, but a little more dynamic. But it's just Marines, tanks, and medevacs. Just ignore those 2 Liberators he finished building. Not sure where the Liberators are headed. A drop over to the right side. A couple Liberators to cover the Marines to the left. They were intercepted by the Hydras. A multi-tier tank push moving forward. Reynor has lived so far, but the hive is only halfway done. A Ghost Academy has begun. And Percival right now has Reynor on the run, and he's not having very much fun. And for now, The Banelings and Hydras will, even without lunge, go forward. Targeting down the Banelings one by one, and the Hydras off creep. They don't have speed, nor do they have range. And the Siege Tank Marine combo takes down the base down the center. That was a sentence, but now a Zergling counterattack gets into the natural. Some of the Marines fighting in the streets of the base. He's forced to pull back a group of the reinforcements to maybe deal with this. Already half a dozen SCVs dead. And Percival very much taken off the map for a moment. Didn't have time to set up this attack, but the textbook splits. And the Banelings do not find the connections. Percival loses some economy back at home, but he's able to maintain the pressure out of the map. Hydraslings and Banes coming in again. The Zergling counterattack reflanked forward. One Baneling in the center, but he picks up in the last second. What a save! Percival keeping the pressure on. A single hero Marine gets 3-4 drones. Yes, one more before being taken down. 144 supply across the board. And Reynor just now building his first Viper. Any semblance of hive tech. Meanwhile, Percival is about to complete +3 infantry weapons and armor. The maximum upgrades now. In the strongest possible timing. The Banelings coming in. Able to get the connections with the creep in just moments before the upgrade's complete. Percival drops a chunk of supply, but another hatchery under fire. The objective is in sight. But can he actually push through and take it? As Percival smoothly transitioning into a much more late-game style. He's got 2 more command centers on the way. 4 SCVs at a time. He finished the Ghost Academy. 3-3's already completed, of course. The Vipers are helping him take out the base with the Consume. Maybe not right now, Vipers. What are you doing? Oh, no. In the red. The Viper, he's transfusing. No, anywhere else. Meanwhile, another army. Percival keeping so much pressure. And the Vipers, they have the energy for a Blinding Cloud, maybe a Parabomb. Blinding Cloud on the low ground. Another one on the tank on the high. No ability to abduct anymore since the new patch while that tank is siege. Meanwhile, the Banelings rolling on the spot of creep on the other side. Thins out the Marine count, but not enough to stop it entirely. Percival drops 20 supply, and somehow the hatchery lives, as the Queen slowly but surely patch it back together with the transfuses. Reynor holds. But we have to ask ourselves that question. Have you liked and subscribed? And at what cost? The Liberator over to the top right. Gonna get some larva, a couple drones. What a game so far. Reynor has lost 6,000 more resources. Just not quite able to decisively deal with any of these armies. But Percival at the same time not quite able to push through for a total victory. And that means we have to go to the late game. In fact, Percival, I think a bit of the reason, not a bite, but a bit, is Percival was already transitioning into the late game, getting more command centers, getting ghosts, where Reynor was fighting for his life. This is the higher percentage play, if you're confident you can do it. If he had gone for the win outright with Marines and tanks, I think maybe he gets there. As the Vipers were very late in coming. If he has another dozen or 2 Marines out on the field, that might be enough to break the economic position of Reynor, and then eventually whittle down the Zerg themselves. But there's a massive... In fact, I think Percival gave Reynor more credit than he gave himself. Percival expected the hive to be done significantly earlier, and it's just a mistake that he didn't have it. That entire time the infestation pit was done, I feel like Reynor thought that he had a hive on the way, or even completed, and he was focusing on crushing the army. That 2-3 minutes where we were fighting in the top right, Reynor had the money to just start his hive, and he simply didn't. Which is both a mistake and an indicator of the amount of pressure that Percival was able to apply. But now, he's completely taken the pressure off, and is developing everything back at home. He's got 5 orbital commands, Liberators, 9 ghosts and counting, high-sec auto-tracking, building armor on the way, the full infrastructure upgrades. Meanwhile, Reynor is regrouping. His creep has been pushed back almost to the hatcheries themselves. The queen count whittled down. He lost 6 of them in the engagement, still has 6, which is barely enough to inject his head. Wow, that's a lot of damage from the Marines. +3. We got a fusion core on the way. As Percival angling for that extreme late game, which could mean battle cruisers, much more likely to be Caduceus Reactor and Advanced Ballistics. This is absolute textbook right here out of Percival. Going straight to Ghosts and Liberators while keeping as much pressure on as possible with the Marines and tanks. And it's so incredibly hard to cost-effectively deal with tanks and Liberators. If you have this amount of bases without losing 430 Zerglings and 70 Banes, and those are just the ones that died before attacking. If you have those bases and can fight into it, you could overwhelm it economically, just wave after wave, slowly drifting across and drowning the Terran units. But that didn't happen. We've got some Baneling mines out there. Fungal catches a medevac full of Marines. Percival trying to stay, hey, in the pipe 5x5, right, boys? Yeah. Oh. He kind of gave himself away there. Advanced Ballistics. Wow. The tech corner here. We've got Advanced Ballistics. Ghost Cloaking. My brain cut out for a second there. And +1 ship weapons on the way. Meanwhile, Lurkers are going to be the choice for Reynor. Lurker range is already completed. The Hydra upgrades. He's filling in the upgrades he can. Look at that Venn diagram of freedom. We have 5 Liberators all concentrated here. There's one somewhere else on the map. The command center's forming a physical wall because he knows the Zerg aren't sending their best. And Percival is actually able to take that right side of the map. And if he can cut the map in twain, then obviously this army is bad. There is even Cyril struggles at this stage of the game. And we haven't seen Cyril in the new patch at all. Ghosts were nerf buffed. Ghosts are now 2 supply and are actual light units, but they have 25 more HP. And speaking of 25, there are 25 Banelings on the way. Banelings, the only unit for Zerg that does bonus damage against light. But usually there's more than a couple of them. So, Ghosts now die in 2 or 3 less hits from Banes. I think it depends a little on the upgrades. But they die in 25 more HP of attacks from everything else. So, Baneling specifically, the intended counter here, but does Reynor have enough? Here we go. Absolutely not. He says that's a hard no right there. Okay? That's not a maybe later when I feel like. That's a definite no. The Porcupine Terran. And I am just color me impressed. Okay? At least give me some color because look, don't judge. But no, I will not go outside. Moving on. Percival has gone from the most intense parade push Marine tank into full Porcupine Terran. It's not Turtle Terran. He's not Turtle. This is just, you get close to me and you'll feel my spines. Somewhat ironically. Is that what quills? Quills. Are quills porcupines? I want to say yes. This is important. It's not that important. Anyways, feel my quills. Distinctly different than knitting needles, to be clear. But right now, Percival has more CCs than a poorly formatted corporate email chain. The snipes! Oh, he gets the shots, but it's going to cost him some of the ghosts. Now, Viper is more costly in gas, but slightly less minerals. Unfortunately, don't have the battle report for this particular battle, so we just have to kind of take a guess. Already 11 ghosts dead. A little bit ambitious. The Vikings, though, may have been a better choice. Quite a costly exchange there. And now look at the minerals. 6,700 minerals for Reynor. 2,500 gas. Up against 0 in the back. And Reynor has taken the bottom left corner, which puts him 3/4 of the way to a bingo strategy. Assuming he can hold on to the top right. He's mined many of the minerals, but far from all. And Percival might be able to move forward. The Marauders holding down the front line, but several of the medevacs going to be taken out. Quite easily picked off by the Hydras as they're stuck at the back. The Baneling's trying to roll through. The Ghosts all stacked up. He could cloak. There's even some drones in the mix here, but the Liberators hitting him on the way out. At hatchery, just a few Marauder hits away from dead. The bottom left corner existing here is so important. Every base on the map has been taken. And Reynor comes up with one more so far, though he just started mining from the bottom left corner. Every mineral and every point of gas is so critical. And now we're getting to this stage. Percival puts a nuclear missile into production. That is one way to deal with that late game potential, but there's not that much static defense. Instead, very mobile here. Are there any infestors? There's one. Oh, get over here! A full medevac of ghosts! Oh no! It's a disaster for Percival! And now the Liberators all stack it up. The Planetary Fortress does have building armor. He needs to focus on it if he wants to take it out. That's a lot of Banelings expended. And the Parasitic Bomb! Percival having a bit of a panic during the attack. He's gonna move one of the display orbitals over. That's a planetary. Okay. And the Hydra's moving up. Still quite costly. A base has about 11,000 minerals and 4,500 gas in it. Every bit of minerals and gas is something taken permanently away from Percival. We are in a full-on bean counter phase situation. Despite the heavy and overwhelming losses, both sides have been able to maintain a very strong late-game economy. And a nuclear launch has been detected down the center. And Reynor? He has to know, right? Yeah, he knew early and he kept mining for 10 more seconds because why not? The Infestor in place. Not sure if Percival actually spotted that. Liberators coming in, planetary busted easily. The Parasitic Bombs on the medevacs that just picked up the ghosts are a stressful situation. They get out in time. The Liberators still have to be dealt with. This is awkward. You can't park here! I don't think you deserve... I don't think you decide that. Well, he's mining the gas as well. Probably the most important resource as time goes on. There was a greater spire built by Reynor. He hasn't mined one of the gases in his main. If it comes down to it, and he doesn't notice, that could be a massive deal. He was going for the high economy, low tech strat. So he didn't take his main gas, but he may not notice until it's potentially too late. The army supply is in favor of Percival, despite the fact he's at 172. Another nuclear launch. Reynor picks it up immediately. Recognizes the situation. Percival gonna use it as cover to move forward. In fact, he incinerates one very unlucky Marine with it. Just continues adding on the nukes. I just realized how far off center this base was. But maybe... Oh, he was trying to keep it out of sensor tower range. I see. I don't know if it would have been in sensor tower range, actually. But here we are. So many Zerglings. The ghosts caught outside. Wait, are they hard-walled? That'd be so... Wow, look at that army. Another nuke on the way. That is one way to do it. Percival, I think you could see here. The mule stimulus package. And let's see that income graph. The Grand Canyon is about to open up as Percival mining with a fully saturated base of mules. Now, mules don't create more minerals. They just mine them incredibly quickly. So we see the income dipping heavily. Somehow. Oh, he just gets in. He's like, you know what's better? Sniping too. Oh, wow. The ghost gets behind enemy lines. And then, well, 2 Vipers was definitely worth it. Reynor re-expanding like he's the medium AI right now. Definitely a bit of a tougher opponent. Percival, though, is starting to pull away with the resources. Though he's lost 2,000 more gas, which is going to make that one gas... He's lost about 1 gas or more gas so far. His army has been so complex, and he's lost 25 ghosts. The scans. He has enough scans. 10 orbital commands means you have map hacks with extra APM. It takes 5 orbital commands in order to have a scan 100% uptime. Just one, but you can scan the moment it runs out. As we play trading bases here, we'll see who can hold on to it. And again, the Marines coming in, but the Liberators... Did Percival just given up this base? Well, he moved the Liberators away. There's still quite a double siege. The Liberators covering the tanks, covering the Liberators. But most of the forces committed to the other side, and the siege tank's blinding cloud of ducks. The Viper's able to crowbar this apart. The missile turret's almost taking out some of them, but Percival will come up, but this base has already been ransacked. A few snipes on the Hydras. Another attack to the left side. There's not much to deal with the Liberators over the top of this terrain. And the Porcupine Terran continues to hold it down. And the fact that his bank is building up, Reynor does not... He's never going to have more... He found the gas in his main. This is surprisingly yet profoundly important. That 2250 gas, I think, is going to matter a lot. The way this game is going. Percival may somewhat metaphorically, but also literally, run out of gas. The way this keeps up. He's done a good job of keeping Reynor from bearing down on him with his entire army. You can't break this. He needs to deny one of these bases. He needs... It's not really optional. And that's why Reynor is not doing like a big turtle style. He needs to get rid of this army once, so he can maybe go for a big lurker switch. Or just continually deny the base with Hydraling Bane. The Ghosts will cloak. And even though they're Overseers... Oh my... Oh no! The full firing line! And the Ghosts! A musket line of Ghosts! And there's not enough Zerg units to stop the snipes before they unleash them. Sure, it's more like a semi-automatic rifle. But, the Ghosts themselves, there's not that many Banelings beyond this parasitic bomb. He's gonna land some of the Vikings with the parabombs, but it leaves them in the air until the duration runs out. The planetary burns! Percival realizes right before the Zerglings get in. Hello? Hello? Like 2 SCVs, but the rest of the Ghosts come back. 19 Ghosts, 6 Liberators, and 2 Siege tanks on the way. But Percival is just blasting his way through. Thing is, Reynor still has the bank. He's going for the Broodlord switch with his last bit of minerals. The constant scans. He's mined out of 4, 5, 6. He's dug so deep and so greedily. This base is almost taken out. 2,000 minerals, just enough for the Broodlord Infestor switch. But that's all I have to say about that. That is an army. Reynor has to rebuild Overlords. He's lost so many Overseers. 19 of them. 1,000 Zerglings. It's a massacre. And it's not over. But Reynor just drained the very last of his bank on these Broodlords. Percival, the platonic ideal, the social distancing Terran composition. Don't touch me, all right? This is my personal space. None of your units have nearly enough. Do not touch me. No touching. Snipes, EMP, cloak, advanced ballistics. The army is obscenely expensive and remarkably hard to control well. But I think Reynor may have left the tech switch for too long. There are 12 Broodlords, 5 Infestors. You absolutely must interrupt the snipes. If you are unable to do so, this entire army will be exploderated with those like high velocity armor piercing explosive rounds, firing mini nukes and regular nukes. Gonna try to zone. He's coming in looking for potential snipes or EMPs on Infestors, I think. EMP on the Overseers was what he'll settle for. The Broodlord's working towards the left side. The fact that Percival's mining from here, that's too far forward. The Liberators technically have an anti-air attack and 2/2 upgrades. Reynor's about to have +2 flyer attack. The Ghost count, 17 Liberators. Are there any Vipers? There are 2 Vipers. The Wombo Combo Parasitic Bomb. I mean, oh wow. Liberation is at hand. Operation Zerg Freedom has begun. Whether they like it or not. Oh no. EMP only hits 1 infester. The spores are moving up. This base is mostly mined out, though Percival hasn't been very diligent about mining the gas. He realized that now. That Reynor drew his attention over there. Gonna try to drag it forward. No scan, but there's really no anti-air. The Viper's Parasitic Bomb. Catches some with the fungal, tries to bring out another one. That one Viking quarantined forward, some of the queens. Viper just gets slapped out of the sky by the Vikings. The base is, the map itself is running out of minerals. Reynor has mined 10,000 more, but he's lost 15,000 more. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for Reynor. He needs the fight. Percival has struggled in these larger fights before. That Viper right at the edge trying to bait it in. They're all stacked up. If he gets the catch on it, the Parasitic Bomb. Neither side can even afford to rebuild a fraction of their army. Percival's is almost 50% more expensive. Of course, he has 30 more army supply. Fungal comes out. Queen gets caught. Oh no, the Vipers! He loses 1. The Broodlord's holding for now. The base itself. At some point, there's nothing left to defend. That point is coming up soon. He only has like 1,200 minerals here. If you can hold it. Nuclear launch detected! The Vikings cutting back, one-shotting Broodlords. Parasitic Bomb, but the nuke! Zoning out, the Parabomb doing a lot of damage. The Viper gets caught by the nuke! Oh no! It's a disaster yet again. Even though he only hit 1 unit, I think. Maybe an Overseer. That was maybe the most important one. Without the Viper, there's one more. He needs the Vipers to keep the Liberators and the Vikings from stacking up. If the threat of the Parasitic Bomb is removed, the air army, even with... Ooh, that was it. That was the last Viper. The Wombo Combo, no, stop pushing me! The Infestors pushing each other into Liberator range. Both sides under 100 minerals. They're both mining at the bases right next to one another. There's a couple hundred more on the left side. The Broodlord count has dwindled down to 8. Vikings at 12. A lot of them bruised. He can't really afford to repair. Huge fungal. And here we go. The Hydra's Wings and Banes holding him down. The Ghosts have full energy. The Liberator is in range of the hatchery. The Orbitals keep sending out scans. Both at 170 supply. Another nuke! I don't know how many, but it might be enough. The nuclear siege! As he pushes forward, the Spore Crawler knocked out by a siege tank. The nuke will land, maybe take out a Brood? No, he cancels the nuke. Or the Ghost. I'm not sure which one happened there. Another nuke. Percival is spending his last 100 minerals on nukes. Which... Oh, the snipes come out the last round of fungals. That's not enough broods. That's not nearly enough broods. There's no energy. The Italian GG. Reynor. So close, yet so far. Even though it was a decisive victory for Percival, if he didn't hold it together, he had some really rough fights. But he held it together. He really buckled down and did a full turret tank push. This is a campaign build. This, like, he has missile turrets, tanks, ghosts, it all together. An exhausting game. Reynor loses 1,088 lings, 158 something banelings, 37 ghosts dead. The Broodlord switch may have been too little and too late. But if he had done it earlier, then Percival's more locked into countering it. Even though the ghost looks so hard. I mean, I don't want to hear a goddamn word about the ghosts, all right? Just like Blizzard. No more StarCraft. I'm the second. Maybe not the first, but Percival holding it together. And Reynor with some clear mistakes. The hive was a bit too late. and quite late on transitioning to the hive tech itself. Now, if you go straight for lurkers or straight for broods, it makes the ghosts and the liberators a lot stronger at that phase. So you have to stay on Hydraling Bane for long enough to try to knock out their economy. It's only when either you've whittled down their economy to less bases or you have no choice that you go for that hive tech, the brood lords, and infestors for the most part. But he had no choice. Game 1. I had to think about it because I wasn't sure. But game 1 goes to Percival. A clash of styles, and yeah, he's really carved out a niche. What a game. You can see there the struggle of most Terrans. Will be very quick to tell you the struggles of Terrans. Don't worry. I'm 1/3 Terran myself. Some of my best friends are Terran. It's okay. Well, Terrans don't have friends, but metaphorically. The Ghost Liberator army looks unbeatable right until it all dies in 2 seconds. They're all between Parasitic Bomb, potentially Corruptors, Banelings. It is very easy to go from the most expensive army to one of the least expensive armies in the game. Forcibly so. And Percival, you could see... You know, I appreciate how you could see the struggles, too. The moment he gets ghosts, trying to use them as a kind of a forward attacking force. Now, no. I'm not being an apologist anymore. The nukes, they didn't get the big hit that clips from 2011 are made of. But you have to respect them. It's a nuclear missile. Okay, that's what like 95% of geopolitics is based around. Doesn't matter which geo. So I love the use of the nukes as part of the siege to cover for each move up. A creeping barrage against the creep. I feel like you could go back and really break down each part of that game. Both the Marine tank push, the Hydraling Bane, and then like every 10 minutes is its own saga of the trilogy. We'll get Peter Jackson to drag it out into 3 movies. Wait a second. That's too deep and too greedy. But with no money left for either side at the end. But it just wasn't enough Broodlords. 20 Broodlords? It wasn't enough Broodlords. Threepers. Sorry, I didn't talk about this game at all because nothing too dramatic, but the Threepers get in. The Queens. Get off my creep. You okay, Brenda? Not after that last game. You remember last game? Sorry, I blacked out for... Double engineering bay behind with a 3rd command center. This is a Maru build here. The full swerve from the early pressure into just Marines with upgrades. And we saw him wield them to incredibly strong effect last game. But this time around, the Reapers were shut down very early. Reynor has 3 bases already up and running. He's going to have a very strong economy by the time any sort of follow-up can even get close to revenue. There's not even a factory yet. There's not even a factory yet. There's not even... There's the factory. Percival really trying to get every bit of his economy and infrastructure before working towards the medevacs. But Reynor's going to have so much time. He knows what this... You don't have a lot of directions you can go. That is part of the weakness and why we don't see the Threeper builds or the double rag Threeper very often. is because they already know. It's going to be Marines and then medevacs. There's no ambiguity. It's not a battlecruiser rush. It's not Banshees. I mean, it could be, but it'd be so late, it's almost a non-issue. So Reynor is able to get to 50 drones, a lair, baneling nest, probably a 4th base momentarily, and all before Percival can even really think about taking his 3rd. He's gonna land it. Will Reynor take the more obvious 3rd base or 4th base, or will he go for the goal? That's the only real question left here. He goes for the pocket base. Oh, the triangle base, rather. Clutch of Zerglings headed out. Doesn't want to show all of them. Just a few. And maybe even pick off an SCV or two. Convenient. Bunch of Marines at the natural, waiting for their moment. The medevacs are about to pop out, so that should be the trigger on it. +2 infantry weapons and armor, starting before Reynor's 1-1. That is an obscenely quick set of upgrades. We'll see if Percival can take full advantage. 6.5 minutes, gonna be hitting with the medevacs. Combat shield finishing up. The timing is coming together. Reynor will spot it. Baneling speed isn't far off, and already Baneling's in production. Anticipating exactly this. Now the gold base being taken in the bottom left corner as well. Throws out the grenade. Huge bounce on the veins, making use of those Reapers, but unfortunately the Marines kind of jammed into a corner. The Queen's going to drop them back as well. And will we see the infestation pit from Reynor? Or is he going to follow this up with something different? Just mass Ling Bane. He's got 72 drones. He's building a macro hatch now. No, I lied. That's the base in the bottom left corner. Marines and mines on the way. Percival opting for the Whittle Mines against the Mass Ling Bane style this time around. Whittle Mine with a juicy hit the moment before it's taken out in turn. A single Zergling. Citizen's arrest. Zergling's trying to turn it around. The mines dragged out. Baneling's closing in. Marines picked up. Percival does not know about that bottom left corner, though it feels almost implied at this stage. A few spine crawlers on the way. Hydra's den. The transfuse. Enough to save one of the queens, but not both. Hydra's den completed. Hydra speed starts immediately. +1 ranged attack as well. Percival already with a 4th command center nearly complete. Similar supply, though a bit of a different situation. Baneling mines out on the field. Percival pretty consistent about scanning forward, but with only 3? Oh, beautiful split out of Reynor. Manages to isolate the 1 Ling and defuse the bomb. Meanwhile, the hatchery, Percival helps him out. It was off-center anyways. How gracious. Does he finally notice this base in the bottom left corner? I think he did. Saw the creep. We'll be able to take it down with relative ease. Yes. There's Lings and Banes, but the hatchery should go down either way. Baneling mine in the trees. And Percival, 3-3 has begun. Infestation pit just started for Reynor. So he's still quite low on the tech. Is there drilling claws for Percival? No. He hasn't even started it yet. Both will get taken out of the Whittle Mines, even still mixing in grenades. Meanwhile... Oh, the banelings will unburrow. Maybe moments before they could be of use, but a scan will spot the baneling mines, but that might help out in the long run. Widow mine. I don't know if he retargeted or Reynor just, It's time. Hits him with the bane mines, and a few survivors live to tell the tale. But now he's got to be a lot more cautious on the field because absolutely anywhere that his Marines tread could be deadly. How does it feel, Terrans? The Widow Mine still. No drilling claws is a huge missed opportunity here. I believe he even has a factory with a tech lab somewhere. Indeed he does. The lack of drilling claws could make or break these pushes. As right now, Reynor not so obligated to have overseers with everything. And it makes it a little harder to guarantee the shots. But the banelings coming down, but the Hydra's easily able to take out the critical mass of Marines. More Marines caught by the Zerglings. The upgrades are very good, though. The Marines barely overwhelmed. 3 Marines able to hold against quadruple their number of Zerglings. 200 Zerglings dead so far, but Reynor holding on to 5 bases. The hive is nearly complete. There's already ghosts on the way for Percival. Another incredible, smooth transition into the late game. But Reynor is right there along with him, and he has 89 drones. A massive economy that's going to be tough to match. Drilling claws just now started. 3-3 infantry weapons and armor now completed. A 3 upgrade advantage over the Lings and Banes for Percival. Same with the Hydras, who have +1 attack. But the numbers aren't quite there, at least so far. And Marauder's not so good against the Hydralists themselves. Maybe anticipating Ultras, but... Percival. 4 bases, added more command centers, could take the base down the center just like Reynor. The Infestors underneath. The Serral Festers could end this a lot more quickly. Lurkers have been committed to. He's got Lurker range completed. The Infestors sharking around. I don't know if he... Does he see the worm sign? Maybe a bit too little and a bit too late. And the Fungals! Oh no! It's a disaster! Percival! An unmitigated rout! At least to start, but then the Ghosts and the Siege Tanks turn things around with the upgrades. Still... The Infestors pop up, the Widow Mines take them down, but in the split second before they do, the Fungals held them down. And the Medivacs with Ghosts inside were taken out of the sky by the Hydras. Still, Percival not willing to give up this position. And with Liberators, Ghosts, and Widow Mines, it's still quite a difficult spot to dislodge. No planetary fortress down the center could cost him to a potential counterattack. Planetaries around the outside. Around the outside. Around the outside. And so far... Drilling Claw's now done. Gonna benefit immediately. +2. Ranged attack. And immediately paying off. Knocking another medevac with units out of the sky. And Reynor, a 50 supply. And Percival going to be asking why. Or maybe just giving a quick sigh. Because we're far from ending this game in a tie. The end is potentially nigh. I'm not here to lie. The Terrans may indeed cry. The medevacs continue to fly. That's it. That's all I got. My oh my. Like and subscribe. That's... Oh, there's a changeling jammed into a corner. So wondering. Vendiah scan, making sure there's nothing behind him nor too much in front. And so far, indeed. And even the Widowmine follows him home. And the closer Percival gets to 200 supply, the harder this is to deal with. Unfortunately, this Nidus might be too much. There's absolutely no response. The Nidus has lurkers, and the production could be undercut dramatically. But the ghosts come back. The scans are a little late. And the lurkers will interrupt many of the snipes. Will it be enough? Oh no, the lurkers get eviscerated in their own base. Another half second and he might have been able to shut this down with almost no losses. But instead, now Fungal's down the center, the Banelings close the distance, the Widowmines aren't enough. The Liberators will be taken out by the Hydras. The lurkers have yet to be dislodged from the back. And Percival has been struck down on the attack and is struggling on the defense. He's got all the late game upgrades, but they might be too little. I'm thinking they're too late. Reynor, 92 drones. Continuing to catch up in the upgrade counter. Percival still has 65 SCVs, but he doesn't have the army supply. Reynor building up another round. He's now mining from the gold uncontested. He's had the income lead for the overwhelming majority of 10 minutes. And it's now exponentially greater. Another Nidus in the very main. He brings some ghosts. I don't even know if they'll kill it in time. They can't snipe the Nidus worm. The ghost will be interrupted, but that's just Hydras, Lings, and Banes. There's no great target that's really worth it. Not in this sort of fight. The planetary taken down, lunges forward with a vengeance. A drop will take out the gold base, but another Nidus in the main. The SCVs to deal with it. The Hydras still finding success. There's almost no units here for Percival at all. The siege tank's taken out. Like 3 ghosts survive. Another Nidus will pop out or be put down a moment before. But we're watching an extended death animation here. Percival unable to get the foothold, get the amount of bases he needed before Reynor has undercut his economy and overrun the field. Another one. Oh, there's a changeling, like, right above the refinery. The Widowmine retargeted. Gets a pretty decent chunk. Gonna need about 15 more of those. Medevac knocked out of the sky. Using the new Neosteel armor in order to have the extra slots to bravely run away from the Lings. Percival fighting. He's got 9 ghosts and very little else. Reynor has 90 drones. Infestor scanned. There's more. They just keep warming up. He spots one. Barely gets it on the edge of the scan. But wait, there's more! Another Nidus in the main. Chew-Toy Depot serving its purpose. Another scan. The Nidus completed, but gets rid... Are there any more? The Changeling's put down. But now Reynor can lunge forward. The Banelings rolling through. The Ghosts will survive. Another Nidus. Somehow another Changeling got in. And somehow the Nidus returned. And Percival keeps holding on one side. But this is not gonna stop. One after another. Nidus after Lingbane after Nidus. The Lurkers making things incredibly difficult. Percival doing everything he can. But it's too little and it's too late. I certainly hope it's too little and too late, otherwise something horrible happens. If Percival comes back from this, then I may have to rescind my previous statements about the ghost. The Lingbane mustering yet again. It's like 10 hatcheries out there. 8 hatcheries. But he's mining from both corners. The income... 2,900 resources more a minute for Reynor. He just made 50 banelings. They're rolling in, eating the Widowmine hits. The banelings rolling through. The cloak is not enough. The Widowmine's drawn out. GG. GG. Multilingual as well from Percival. We're all tied up. 1-1. Reynor drags it back, and we see the intent of the Hydraling Bane strategy. Percival, well, the Nidus undercut him. If he was able to deal with the first Nidus, which is oftentimes the most dangerous, then Percival maybe can stabilize and work off that center base. But Reynor still has an incredible economy, because this time around, Percival didn't break bases. He didn't delay the hive. He just tried to macro up and compete against one of the best macro Zergs in the world, if not the best. The decider. Game 3, Winter Madness. Appropriately so. A surprisingly close series. Both players winning the game that played to their strengths. But still, even if he isn't able to come through here, Percival can be quite proud. It's a big step. He keeps looking like in individual matches, like he can compete with the very best. I mean, obviously. Unfortunately, a lot of being at the very best, like the difference as someone who only observes instead of playing. It's like when, I think a great example is when Oliveira won the World Championship. It's because any of like the top 25 players on their best day, like 10 to 25, could compete with probably anyone, up to and maybe including Clem and Cyril. But players like Clem and Cyril have those days where they can compete much more regularly. It's not so much about your highest level of skill. It's about making sure your lowest level of skill isn't so low that you can't consistently win tournaments. And having a lot less variation between them. Percival, definitely one of those that a great day and a not so great day can be the same day sometimes. Not sure how his Terran versus Protoss is looking, as that is the most common matchup by a huge margin in many of these smaller scale tournaments as well, which may factor in. As almost every online tournament is approximately 50% Protoss, if not higher, in terms of like the round of 16 of the bracket. Well, this time around deciding that he doesn't want Reynor to just get a third base. He got away with it on 10,000 feet. He let it happen on Taito. Well, he kind of let it happen despite the Reaper. And he got the drone, by the way. He got physically blocked the ability to take the extractor. That's murder. And also very effective. But is it murder if it's Zerg? I'm just asking questions. He spotted the legs, and Reynor's so kind to keep them all there. This is no speed. He didn't start speed at all. What is Reynor up to? He has enough gas, but using the minerals on the max amount of drones. Is this a quick layer? It has to be. It doesn't have to, but... Roach one. Third command center is completed. I'm mostly covering for my lack of knowing how much Reynor's going to commit to this by saying, But it could. He has 250 gas banked up. That feels like you got to do something with it. He has 2 Evo chambers on the way. It is a lot of time, not money. At this level, you don't just have it lying around just in case you need it. It's a significant percentage of your economy. Can queens get through there? If roaches can, queens can. All right, they're not as thick as they look. It's just a trick of the eye. Very odd-looking wall off, though. The Hellions. On both sides of things. We got a couple barracks back at home. For Percival, obviously. Where else would you put them? A Banshee is on the way, and the roaches are halfway across the map. Reynor already building a lair, as well as more drones. So this is a distractionary tactic, knowing that the Banshee can shut this down almost entirely on its own. So, clearly, the roaches just forcing the respect from Percival, but I'm not entirely sure how much he delays anything. As the double engineering bay we've already seen before, 2 drones incinerated by the Hellions as they dart into the 3rd base. Banshee cloak complete. Are there any opportunities to use it? Layer's about to complete as well. +1 infantry weapons and armor. Unlucky Hellion gets taken down. And didn't build an Overseer, though. A little lucky that the Banshees will reveal the cloak before they start hitting the queens. Otherwise, there's a very real chance Reynor could have lost 1 or 2 queens. And she's just going to look for the 4th base instead. Percival sharking around. Doing a good job queuing things up to try to maximize damage. And in fact, gets into position. Still building up back at home. Great timing on everything. Really setting up these attacks to maximize their effect for minimal APM investment. A little bit of fancy micro, though. Lets him get another couple drones. And look at that worker count. 58 to 57. Yeah, Reynor has a big round on the way. But the fact he's still building workers and is only barely ahead at this stage compared to Percival, who already has double upgrades. Now, Reynor went for +1 Carapace. But, ooh, the creep isn't even spread to the other side of this base, so there's a very real chance that the Banshees do critical damage. I don't think they can kill it. Yeah, the Queens striding, but a lot of damage already dealt, and that's going to be a clear objective for what I think is an impending Marine tank army. Don't need to think anymore, you can just look at it. Percival heading out. Zergling and Baneling speed on the way. Remember, he didn't get Zergling speed early to try to cut some corners. And now that may leave Reynor without an edge against this attack. There's no way Percival's expecting that to be the case. He doesn't have combat shield, which is quite a huge deal. But no Baneling speed makes it a lot easier. You just got to give it up. The Banshees soften it up. The Marines finish it off. Denying the 4th base is a huge part of getting a foothold in the mid to late game against the Zerg. Not just for the economy, but for the production. The sheer amount of larvae. Limiting that, especially with a Roachling Bane composition. Reynor's supply blocked. It's not good. Percival. And, oh, wow. Can you leap? I think he can hit the extractor from here, and obviously Reynor realizing, but maybe a little bit too late, the magnitude of this, and his wall-off could work against him at this stage. He has to trickle units by. One by, get out of the way! And the Ravagers are not going to be in range of the siege tanks. The Banshees get driven back. He has to use corrosive biles on the Marines. The siege tank. Reynor doesn't even line up the shots because there's another drop on the left side. Uh-oh. Reynor's falling apart here. The Banshees find an opportunity. Percival finally dropping the ball a bit. One of the Banshees taken down, but has queued up. Clearly kind of abandoning them at this point. Meanwhile, trying to get the damage done. He cancels yet another 4th base. Percival will have a 4th base before Reynor, which is a massive win. There's an Ultraless Cavern on the way. So Reynor still has an opportunity to battle back. There is no Ghost Academy for Percival. He's going for Widow Mines, which are not the ideal choice against Ultras. There's not that many Marauders mixed in, though he's starting to do so. Vipers with energy. There's still potential. Is there enough for a Parabomb? He's trying to get it before these Marines drop out. But the entire... the bait and switch. The sacrifice not in vain. He uses another Parasitic Bomb. 125 energy. And the Marines are just stimming forward. Why not? Reynor getting battered down. The Viper's out in front. Maybe missing an opportunity to actually take him out, but the Widow Mines. Siege tanks at the back. And Banelings. But 2-2 is now done. He's standing his ground with a lot of these. Looking to target fire the Banes. Trades a few more Marines. Ricky, the accidental swarm host. Oh no. That's how much stress Reynor is under. Ricky making a cameo appearance. The classic indicator of a Zerg panic attack. When you're accidentally trying to A-move, but you've selected your larva, and the default hotkey is A. Ricky is once again unwanted and unloved. But he exists. For now. Even using it. Did he kill it? I think Reynor popped out the Locust and then shot the Swarm Host, or killed it with his own units, just to get rid of it. That's how unloved. Well, the Marines stuck in the corner. Gotta pick him up before the Parasitic Bomb can take down a medevac. I don't think it's quite enough. Time's out at the last moment. Another drop to the left. It's not going well for Reynor. He's got Ultras. A desperation move against a Terran that already has a Ghost economy. Ultras are a finishing move if possible. They're not something that drags you back into the game against the Terran players paying attention, but Percival looking to prove me wrong for a moment. Still gets away with the medevac. Forces the units into position, and those Marines can kill almost an infinite amount of Zerglings. Until the medevac runs out of energy, they will keep killing Zerglings. The Widow Minefield in front. Percival not intimidated by a few Ultras. Overlord taken down. No, Overlord takes a hit. The Vipers have enough energy for Parabomb. But EMP changes that very quickly. Widow Mines. Reynor's running out of options for what to do with the Ultras. Medevac in the main. The Marines will unload. I think he tried to target, but... Percival. Now, Reynor is maxed out. One mediocre fight, and Reynor could regrab so much of the map. 4 Ultras are a lot to deal with. Just the sheer biomass in front of him. He can kite them down. Meanwhile, the drop on the left side gonna force the 4th base away again. Drags him through Widow Mines, taken out too early. But 2 Ultras remain, and they're being chased down by the Bio Army. Percival, every couple steps forward that Reynor takes, he has to take so many more back. The drops keep going. And there's nothing to really knock them down. The anti-air is Queens and Vipers, neither of which are particularly reliable or efficient against the medevacs. A Widow Mine on the base. He picks up again. The Vipers chasing, but another army. Gonna head towards the left side. The creep has been driven back. It barely exists at all outside of the bases. Just a few creep tumors remain. Percival, again, crushing Reynor under the weight of such an efficient Terran play. He's scanning forward, looking. He just goes for the queen. Ends up sniping her off. Manages to retreat back, scanning for infestors underneath the army. None there because Reynor doesn't have burrow. But of course, Percival can't know that. He knows he hasn't filled in the late-game upgrades, though, and a fleet beacon is on the way. No, a fusion core. A fleet beacon would be even more impressive, though possibly less impactful. That one Viper comes in from the back, but it doesn't stop the snipes. Another fungal. That might be enough to take down the medevacs. And Parabomb, he gets one. Another army. The Widow Mine, so dangerous. but he manages to unload the majority of units. Reynor has the supply lead for the first time in a while. A snipe pops an infester like an overripe tomato. The Ultra's driven back yet again. Percival. So close, but struggling to finish it. Which, you know, I hear is a problem many people have. I wouldn't know myself, but... A Liberator keeps popping the drones. Reynor's down to 62. Just like we saw last game, Percival in a long-winded death animation. Reynor is on his last legs, which is quite impressive for how many legs the Zerg usually have. You can check out even more of my Dronely fans. Like and subscribe. The Liberator finding another angle. The Queen, no! And it didn't, the Spore, I don't know if the Spore has enough range. I don't know if it matters. It doesn't. Disgusting. The Viper slurping some more energy out of the hatchery. A nuclear missile is in production. Percival has taken his side of the map, and he's taking Reynor to task. The volley of snipes comes out. The Widowmines hold the front line. The Marauders pound their way through. The Infestor making its way by. The Liberator finally taken down. But at what cost? More Ultralists exploderated by the snipes. The Infestor pops up. The Fungal comes out. But it's too little. It's too late. Reynor does not have enough to break this army. He does not have enough economy to follow it up. And he's just going to keep getting driven back further and further. And he has nowhere left to retreat to. The last Fungal comes out. The Ghosts around the corner. The Liberator. The Widowmines. But the Ultras. It's not enough. Percival, in one of the biggest upsets in recent StarCraft 2 history, will take down Reynor. 2 games to 1. Wow. And with some calculated, and there were a few moments where I think he just got a little excited to be so far ahead. And you could clearly see when the Ghosts go a little bit too far forward, they easily get chopped up by the Ultras or melted by the Banes. But what a clinical and clear kind of thought process from Percival. Even in the game he lost. Quite an impressive play from our 2 youngest players. Pretty much in the game. Maybe Max Pax is a little younger, but... Well, hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome. Check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. And hyping, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons, bringing in those extra minerals. Big Jake, Devin, Door, Kate, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoy. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. Make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. Totally. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.